Welcome back, YouTubers, to part 3 of repairing the Tecumseh carburetor on the Tecumseh Snowblower. Today I'm going to be putting the carburetor all back together and starting up the machine, and hopefully it's going to run good. Now what I'm using today is a partial rebuild kit number 631021B. And this kit contains the bowl O-ring, the seat, the needle, the clip, and the ball nut gasket. So I'm going to start with the seat and the tool. You want to put the smooth side of the seat into the tool like this, so that this side here goes at the bottom of the carb. And then just push it in like that until it goes right to the bottom. I'm going to reinstall the air mixture screw, put the spring in, install the little washer, and then the O-ring. If the O-ring is cracked, replace it, and then just insert it in here. Now screw the screw right in and turn out a full turn, and then we're going to fine tune it once it's on the carburetor. So if you're looking to buy a full rebuild carburetor kit, it's Tecumseh part number 31840. The kit there will include more parts. It will include the bowl nut and the adjustment screw for that, the O-rings, the ball gasket, everything that was in the little kit that I'm using today, except a few more parts. Next, install the O-ring on the carb, and you got to get it all around like this. Next, you want to grab the needle and the kit and the little clip, clip it on like this. Now we're going to install the needle in the carburetor with the float, so insert the needle clip like this. The needle is going to hang like that. Now grab the carburetor, line up the needle to the hole, and just slide it down like that. Now once you've done that, insert the float pin into the hole and push in the pin so that it's in like that. And now when you have the float up like this, the adjustment is approximately the width of the tool right here, or the width of a 13/64 bit. Now when you install the bowl back on, you want to put the flat side of the bowl toward the side of the needle on the carburetor. So line it up like that. Then you're going to have to press it into the new O-ring on the carburetor. Make sure it's all the way down like that, and nice and firm on there. Now make sure you've got the new gasket on the bowl nut, and just install it. And you're going to need a 7/16 wrench. Don't over tighten this because you can easily strip the threads. So now you've got your carburetor all put back together, and we're ready to reinstall it on the snowblower. Now when you go to reinstall the carburetor, if this thing falls off, just line it back up with the studs over here and make sure the gasket's in there as well. So you can see there how it lines up on the studs, and there's a gasket on the outside and in between the metal piece and the intake manifold, as you can see there. So make sure all these are lined up with the two studs. First thing you want to do when you install the carburetor back is hook up the choke cable in this hole over here. Just insert it in like that and twist it. Now you want to install the throttle linkage in the little hole up here. So make sure this is set up like this up top here. Then insert this end into the hole on the carb and bring the carb up like that. Now I'll lift the carb up and line it up with the studs like that. Make sure the throttle linkage is nice and smooth in there like that. Install the nuts back on. Now I'm holding the bolt at the back because it turns when I tighten up the nut. Make sure you tighten up the two nuts evenly on each side of the carb. Now once you've got the carburetor on tight, reinstall the fuel line. And make sure you reinstall the fuel clip. Now once you get the carburetor on, you may want to spray this with liquid wrench over here and all the linkages on the carburetor. This will make the throttle a lot easier to move and your throttle linkage won't get jammed up. And spray it right in there. Don't worry if it drips. And you may want to spray the choke lever and the cable. And you can also spray the throttle lever over here. When you move the throttle lever on the handlebars, you want to make sure that the throttle mechanism on the car moves back and forth like that. If it's jammed in the open position like this, it may be really hard to start your machine. So you want it to freely move back and forth like that. I'm going to replace the line that went to the primer here and to the carburetor. And what I've got here is some original Tecumseh primer line. You can buy it on motorsforyou.com website. And it's far better than the clear lines for this purpose. This is not fuel line, by the way. It's only meant to use as primer line or emissions line. Now hook it up to the primer. If you find it's hard to put the line in, you can always put a bit of oil around the connector and it's going to go in a lot easier. Don't shake it too much because you don't want to break the primer connector over here. And that's good like that. Now when you go to install this cover back on, make sure you insert the primer line on this side of the choke lever. So kind of like that. And now the choke lever is going to come through the groove. Before you screw down this cover, just lift it up here, grab the primer line, and hook it onto the primer connector on the carb here. Now bring the cover back down. Now line up the two holes at the front with the two screw holes on the carb. Now put in these little screws. I'm not going to fully tighten them up yet. And there's also a little screw that goes here. If you're wondering what size of screw they are, if you've lost yours, they're an 832 by 3/8 long. And now tighten these up. Don't over tighten because the threads can easily strip. Now if you've turned off the fuel valve on the fuel tank, make sure you have it open again. And I'm going to open it by unscrewing it, and it's already open. Also on these small motors, when you pull this lever out, the choke is on or closed. When you push it back in, the choke is off and your primer's right here. So let's pull it over and hopefully she'll run good. Now on this machine, I gotta make sure that the key is turned, and I'm gonna put the throttle about 1/4 out. I'm gonna give it a few shots of primer, actually 3, and pull the choke. Really glad it runs good now. It's going to be a good little snowblower. Sometimes you don't need a full repair kit. All you need is the kit number 631021B. It's much cheaper than buying a full kit, especially if your O-rings are still good on your carburetor. Oftentimes all it needs is a good cleaning. Now I've got the carburetor set at 1 turnout for the air mixture screw, which is the screw on the side of the carb, and there's holes here to access that, and also the idle screw, and the screw underneath is at approximately 1 turnout. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in my next video. Take care now.